Yeah, baby, let's meet out back and we're going to boogie. Yeah, Brooks and Dunn. I mean, how do you sit when you hear that song?
Yeah, baby,
Yeah, there
let's
we
meet.
go. I've got an echo in my head, but that's okay. It means that we're live. So, welcome everybody. It is Thursday and it is cold out there. And at least it is in this part of the country. And yeah, they keep telling us that we're going to have more of that. So let me, as I pull the bus out, and we get over here, and we get over here. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have to let the bus warm up a little bit. I mean, it's just cold. And there I be. All right. So again, welcome everybody. Hope you like that choice of music. And if you ever had the opportunity to see Brooks and Dunn back in the day, you know what I am meaning. Saw them, the number of times I saw them, about three different times, Reba McEntire was with them, and that little gal can put on a show too. So, yeah, I like country and western, like just about all genres, a little opera, but you really have to be in an interesting place. But yeah, so anyway, again, welcome. Good to see everybody. Let me just speak favor over us all. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Hello, chat room. Much love to y'all. Y'all just do a fantastic job. I don't even think it's a job. It's a natural flow. It can't be contrived. It's what was the song that It's a Beautiful Day? I let my woman flow to her own natural rhythm. So that's what I'm talking about. So there we go. Got a lot to cover today. So again, thank you all. So good to see you, Lilith. Good to see you, Loretta and DC, Yuma, Bonnie, and Deborah. How's everything at home? I saw is well lost in space. Lady Ellie off the hook. Jeez, a lot of folks here, and I'm seeing it spin. Yeah, Guy, you got to have a song in your heart. Yeah. Hell, Neil Diamond wrote major hit on that, Song Blue. Everybody knows one. But when you hear Brooks and Dunn, that's pretty good stuff. How many have you ever danced? Ever went out into the clubs and got into line dancing and that type of thing? Hello, Robert V over at Milky Way Soul Tribe. Good to see you, brother. Probably cold up where you are at too, I would think. But anyway, how many I'd like to know? Did y'all? Hey, doctor, what's up? John, good to see you as well. Did y'all ever dance? I really got into the disco thing. That was pretty cool. I gotta tell you. Um, just yeah. It was, the thing about it, particularly disco, was such a cardio workout. I mean, you come off the dance floor just sweating. That's when all of us went back in the day, and us guys had a 23-inch waist, right? So anyway, Gaia, why does that not surprise me, darling? I could see you and Paul out there doing that. Yeah, yeah. Uh, So, look at Bonnie. She said I had a sequined tube top. Yeah, I loved tube tops back in the days, just like hip hugger jeans. Yeah, we had it so good. I mean, when I look at it, you think about timing, jumping into time. So you're going to come into this realm, and I wonder how long of a waiting line there is. Let's say I came in 1955, and if you look in 1955, what was the world like? It was actually one of the few times there was relatively peace and prosperity. Eisenhower was president. America was rebuilding after the war. When I was born, World War II ended just 10 years prior. And the whole thing that happened to us, where we went from propeller blade combustion engines to suddenly we are dealing with anti-magnetism um, vehicles to where we go to the moon and what have you. We're going to get into that, and because there's a lot going on. Um, this is kind of the Steiger perspective in a very brief on the Asmodeus. I got three let him in, one no, so that's where the count is. I hear you knocking. But these are dark days in Washington, D.C. for Congress. I mean, folks, if you want to watch some great theater, just peek in. Not saying get immersed into it. You can be voyeuristic here and really dig a show going on because, wow. I mean, there's some people that are like, holy crap. What, and this is what they're thinking. Um, what realm am I in? This is not supposed to be happening. And wow, those folks in Congress, I mean, yeah. So we just speak favor over the situation and just watch it because here we get into now the subject matter at hand. Uh, Kind of quick poll to everyone in the chat room. Thank you again. Appreciate you all so much. Thank you for hitting the like button and thank you for subscribing and sharing and recommending. There. Um, how much does Saturn control us? You could think dimension wise, uh, realms. You could think physical, like the planet. How about us? And this Black Cube, I mean, we're going to get into it. Um, so the cube is directly associated with Saturn. Um, Christmas that the world celebrates is actually from the religion or believers, the Saturnarians. And Christmas is so much founded upon that annual ritual to Saturn. Um, and by the way, here's something that's really interesting. Money, which seems to be in the influence of this, is allocated to Mercury. Some weird stuff going on, I'm telling you. So I want to get like right into this because there is just, folks, this is so tied together. And we breached on this a while back, but now I don't know, maybe when the student is ready, the teacher appears, or the material or the gnosis. But you talk about cults. Now, cults, remember, and it sometimes has this negative, but you could say a congregation is a cult. It's a gathering. So you could say the cult of the Black Cube. And I won't let you endure my spotty Latin, but here is the Latin translation. It says, now comes the final era of the Sibyl song. The new world order is born, and now justice returns. Saturn's reign returns. Now a new lineage is sent down from high heaven. And we're going to be going through this book all next week. In fact, I'm going to reach out to get Ryder on um, because this is just, it's so deep. And it had, anyway, I digress. Um, so remember, we were talking about Tartaria, uh, covered that extensively. By the way, I have this on PDF, and this is really a very good book by David's. I know if you don't have it in your library, um, I have it over there, but this is great for digital because they really did. They literally didn't change anything from the ebook, from the printed book. Um, but again, we know that their history seems to be instead of more of a static flow, seems to be dynamic in nature. It seems like we can either be manipulated, wiped, or these events occur and apparently reoccur quite often. Um, and if you go and you look at the physical evidence, um, we have cities, modern day cities, that are built on top of cities. And it's really odd. And when they try to, you know, blend it in with the architecture to distract you, you never stop and ask, well, why would an architect build a floor that is half sunken, almost in some cases, three-quarters sunken? The architecture doesn't meet the evidence. And that's because all over the world, there is evidence of a recent cataclysm, disaster. Now, this is all tied into our reading as well. Again, photos from all over the world in every major city. It seems to be something happened, but we don't have any memory of it. We have no history that is accepted as history mentioning it. And Mud Fossil University's channel, check it out. Gets into it. He does a great job on it. But here's the point. So we're going to be moving on, but we'll be coming back in making reference to this because it's amazing how this has all somehow gotten itself together. So let's get right into it. Oh, you're gonna really enjoy this. I've already read this, and it's like, oh yeah, yeah, we're all over this. Um, Blood poisoning. So the men of the previous epoch were hit daily, 24/7, by wireless energy. Their wireless, and by the way, we know now that Tesla proved this. This is whatever is controlling or has tried to control things. I think it's gotten out of its ability to control this. Um, Tesla's told us that electricity is wireless. You don't need all these cables and everything else. Um, and we know with the world expeditions, um, the one they held in St. Louis, Chicago, they were using electric boats, electric people movers, but somehow or another that has been written out of history. Their wireless emissions didn't pass data or information, but energy to power their machines. Their devices weren't plugged into a power outlet. They functioned anywhere near cities. Their chandeliers weren't carrying candles, but light bulbs akin to our own. This wireless emission in each home originated in what we name fireplace. Note the two poles, rods in the fireplace, and with the spears containing mercury and the metallic engraving screen, all at ground level. So check that out. Something be going on. Now, what is being implied here is that this was known to the Tartarians. A stolen history has been stolen from us, and it seems to have been deliberate. Someone could say that it was almost a possible warning. I don't know. The Gilded Age of the Tartarian period is one that's not discussed, but yet it was real. And as you can see, the engravings, and how many of you, I know this because back in the day, and talking about way back in the day, when I was in the construction industry, did a lot of rehab work, and these fireplaces was quite interesting, and I never even realized it because, they would come in and tear all this out. And the metal, I remember them being metal, but an it wasn't kind of like, the type of metal you would think, but never thought a thing about it. Um, Here's more. So it almost seems like it was part of the wireless system. In this one, countless, such as fireplaces, especially in Victorian houses, don't want to spam with such images and bloat of the PDF file size. But you got to admit, that is just something else. And it all had to do with the Tartarians. Like, geez. And once the previous epoch civilization ended and we took over its infrastructure, these buildings were repurposed, purposed. Every wonder why all Victorian buildings didn't have toilets, and the fireplace was established, a place to worship not electricity, but fire for heat and food offered by nature. The men of the previous epoch too shared the popular attitude of, I don't see any damage, so I accept the risk. They too traded luxury for their own blood. Our culture, favoring wireless keyboards, mouse, earbuds, etc., is proof of this. Everyone knows that wireless usage damages your body, yet they prefer comfort. It's crazy what we're doing. I was like, yeah, let me put some of that right into my ears. That's where, yeah, absolutely. Take a second one, in fact. Sure. Um, Once you understand the above paragraph, you understand that every society adapting wireless technology is bound to fall because of blood degeneration, each generation worse than the previous, with more genetic defects and more vulnerability to sickness. The ultimate poison is invisible, and it eats at your body and future body and your descendants. I grew up, I don't remember diabetes ever being an issue at all. Never heard of it. Um, it was, no one ever thought about that. We didn't see it. I could just go on and on. You didn't see people who had asthmatics. It just wasn't there. But yeah, something definitely has changed, as they would say. Um, and we still don't know. No scientist can tell you with absolute certainty what the effects of a having a electric being. That's what we are. We produce a an electric measurable uh, signal, whatever you want to say. And if you immerse yourself that energy into this electromagnetic soup, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is the society that in the 40s and 50s doctors recommended to pregnant women to smoke. If you didn't smoke, it was recommended that you picked up smoking. Yeah, of course we've got this figured out. Don't worry about it. We got the neural net coming in, and baby, you don't have to worry about any of that anymore. Sure. Living exposed to wireless energy emitters also decrease the conductivity of your blood. And what is conductivity but the ability to transfer electricity and energy? Think of the advanced chi practitioners who can ignite paper, or healers of old who could touch someone and heal them. like the stories of Jesus. Man lost this ability centuries ago, as he stated. Why does man need to give his electricity if the world itself is filled with electricity? Well, that's a new interpretation. I had never heard that scripture like that, but I'm open-minded enough to say, yeah, all right. I mean, what is electricity? It's a force. Uh, is it an effect? Is it a state? If there are machines everywhere to generate electricity, man needs no electricity in his body. And it is something to think. So they say, no, electricity was, discovered, yada, yada, yada. Ben Franklin, right? The whole kite and key thing. And then, who was actually the first to quote unquote patent it. But in any case, it's like, sure. But then along came Tesla, who said, well, why are you doing that? That's stupid. That's actually, you're going about it completely wrong. It's everywhere. You don't need to generate anything. You just need to have the proper technology to know how to plug into this. Actually, I don't know if plug in, but I guess metaphorically, and have all the power you ever could. You can't consume the power. It always a flow there. Hmm. So if you have sacred writings of enlightened beings who would be far more advanced in their theology, in their philosophy than the common folk. So you couldn't say to them, well, it's like thunder in the sky, but I can plug into that. They're not, it's the concept. Well, what are you talking about? But if you put it in the metaphor of spirit, God, angels, etc., oh, yeah. I mean, is the soul electrified? We know the body is. Incompatible with sunlight. Think of a world without sunlight. Our surface would be frozen, but humanity would survive underground. How could man survive without the warm sun? Under the ice surface, he would feed his warm blood to the iron cold machine, for survival is simply impossible without the black cube in such a hostile environment, without digital technology. And when I read that, I'm going, okay, I can absolutely see people. In fact, we know, you know, that's where humans came from. The Neanderthals, the Cro-Magnon, even going back further than that. Um, but we always think that they're regressed species, that somehow they didn't have a soul, they didn't have awareness. The argument is that they did have technology, they did have awareness. It's just not in what we perceive technology to be. We're biased, you know? Well, doesn't look like our technology. Man has lived so long under the sun that the sun is part of him. Even his blood is proof, warm as light. Underground, there is no sunlight. In those titanic cavities, which can host cities at certain points, you can make use of the entire 3D space by creating light rays from the black cube and transmitting artificial light anywhere over the vast darkness with mathematical precision. So you could transmit light wirelessly without any loss or distortion. No need for radio waves to emit data or energy. But sunlight makes that an impossibility by crossing artificial light, as we don't live in a dark void inside a cave under layers of ice. So as long as the sun rises yet for another day, the black cube cannot take full control of God's dominion, but only its darkest parts. I had a question in here. So, you know, we look at the Sumerian record and we're introduced to Ea, who apparently is the supreme. He left. I mean, he went on to another gig or something. But anyway, and then comes in Anu, and Anu then has, relations with the goddess, and, they produced Enki and Enlil, and then Anu gets up and splits. You have to ask yourself why. If they're so, do you believe in supernatural beings? Is a demon more intelligent than you? Answer, I can't see the chat room, but it's a question to the chat room. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you very much. Do you believe in supernatural beings? Because what it's saying is that, well, if I say yes, then I believe that there is this place, don't know how it works, but there are apparently spirit. I don't know if they're dead spirits or living spirits, but they're spirits, and they seem to have a bias, a prejudice built within them, which would make them bigoted, um, racist, but yet they exist in this ethereal realm, and yeah, I guess they're more intelligent. Now that was just a hypothetical, but that kind of rational thinking then says, well, okay, so if that's true, then this knowledge that we don't seem to quite understand seems to be tied. And I'll stop right there. I want to show you this one because we're going to get into this particular book. You're really going to like it. Again, I'm referring back to it because this book begins to fill in the details of what we're about to get in more of where this cube occupies space time. So let's talk about the Christian cross. The Christian cross is the unfolding of the black cube where man's light is liberated. For the early Christian fathers knew of the mark of the beast, commonly known to us as a cashless society full of biometrics, and recognized the black cube for what it is. And he goes and gives scripture on that. I believe this may be in the book of Revelation. It is, and it says, and he caused all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Well, if this would, let's say that this is a neural plant, it's a biometric plant that it's very easy to administer, very easy. You could actually do the whole population probably within a month. But anyway, it goes on, and I know this by memory, um, or in their foreheads. Now, isn't this odd? This group of enlightened free thinkers, we can see something here in their foreheads. Um, is this to block the activation of our third eyes, which apparently we all have? Our ancestors used them much more than what we could ever imagine. And what if you got the technology now, and now you have a worldwide network? This is why the whole thing in Washington, D.C. is such an uproar. You've got someone who's turning everything upside down. That seems a lot to me like Asmodeus, and I don't know. It's an interesting thought. But anyway, getting back to this forehead thing, um, odd place, but I can see it being done. It's not a mystery to me as it was when I read this 50 years ago. Technology has advanced so quickly, and I have been fortunate to be in on it. It's, and I look back on it now, and it was almost like a dream. It happened. It's, you can see it all within twinkling of your eye. Hmm. And it goes on to say in the book of Revelation on this one, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let he that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. The number is 600, threescore, and six, 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 which is the cube. Just my opinion. The number of the beast. Numerology was used as the main technique to the steganography of before digital technology. Numerology is the assignment of numerical value to a letter and the sum of its letters for a word. In simple English, numerology, there are 26 letters, values, these being incremental by one. In other words, A equals 1, Z equals 26. Now get this. And I know there's so many of you that are into this. You know exactly what we're getting into. Moloch, for example, in simple English numerology, is 13 plus 15 plus 12 plus 15 plus 3 plus 8. Moloch is 6 6. Not a coincidence, of course. Corona is a word which the black cube worshippers love, for it has many properties. One of these properties is its simple English numerology, which is 3 plus 15 plus 18 plus 15 plus 14 plus 1. Corona is 6 6. Again, not a coincidence. Baphomet in Hebrew numerology is 256, which is the exact value of one full byte. One, 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 one. Baphomet in simple English numerology is 80. Again, the language of the black cube being octal. You know, it's like, wait a minute. This can't be all by coincidence. That brings 8 bits to form 1 byte of superstitious. There is also medieval English numerology. He has a table below, so 26 letters incremental by 6 instead of 1. So, so for those who believe all of the above are a coincidence, justify this. The following words equal 666 in medieval English numerology. So you use the above table. Mark of the beast, a satanic mark, receive a mark, the hand or head, forehead sign, uh, identity. What? No, let's step this back. So how would we begin to get that this is getting into the mark or the number of man. That all totals 666. Lastly, the son of sin. Um, Interesting. Oh, and here we cap it all off with the image of Satan. Now, isn't that special? But anyway, so the black cube equals the Star of David, which equals the star of Rampham. Hmm. Now the test is going to be yes, there's going to be a test at the end. All right. So you're getting where the numbers are and how we're now beginning into how in the world does it become that? That's the formation of the cube of space through the hexagram. That's, again, it's like, all right. You can't believe this stuff, Steiger. Yeah, I know. Nothing to see here. Move on. Of course, we have the hexagram on the uh, pole of Saturn. Nothing about it at all. Sure. Um, the 2D cube, which is the hexagram in the Star of David. Figure 7, the hexagram, hex, is to put a spell or curse. Now, can we just stop here? I'll pull off a little side here for rest stop. So, and I'm going to go again to about 10 minutes after on this. Um, who do we know? In fact, there's only one that I know. Who do we know was the first to curse its own creation? Anybody want it? Smoke them if you got them. But huh, the only one I know. So is this a coincidence? I think not. Okay. So now we have the 6 points of the Star of David, 6 triangles, 6 sides. So you do the math, 60 degrees plus 60 degrees plus 60 degrees equals 180 times 2 triangles, which equals 360. 360 equals 36, 0 omitted. So then you have 3.6s, which equal 666. Adding 1 up to 36, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 36 equals 666. The value of black cube in simple English numerology is 60. The value of black cube in medieval English numerology is 360. 360 equals 666 by multiplying, by simply omitting 0, 36 3 sixes, 666. Also note that 360 degrees are the angles of total containment, covering a full circle. Witness the angles of a cube. It equals 4 angles, each 90 degrees, which equals 90 plus 90 plus 90 plus 90, which equals 360. Tell me this is all a coincidence. Um, Nothing to this, Steiger. Ancient Greek robotics. If there's nothing new under the sun that has not been known to man before, that which was shall yet be again. I mean, is that a key? Is that a clue? All right, so were we really the modern man, really the first to come up with robotics? Apparently not. How many remembers Homer's Odyssey? So it says, and I want to make sure that we get this in. All right, so For there is no one of all mankind who is nameless, be he base man or noble. When once he has been born, but parents bestow names and all when they give birth, when they give them birth. And tell me thy country. I'll read over here in the English side of it, last one. Tell me your country and your people, your city, too, so ships can take you there. Using what they know to chart their passage, the Passeans have no pilots, no steering oar, like other boats, for their ships on their own can read men's hearts and thoughts. They know all men's cities, their rich estates as well, and quickly skim across wide tracts of sea, concealed in mist and clouds, without a fear of shipwreck or disaster. So that is in Homer's Odyssey. So what was he seeing? Well, we could think of a number of different things, but you could think of easily a hovercraft. We have the military, our U.S. military, they have huge things. I mean, this is what's so interesting. It was driven by thought. Now, I don't remember my history teacher, my English literature teacher, ever telling me, hey, Steiger, what he's really saying, man, is that, these were machines that had just at the thought does everything. It has this database. It's AI. Never heard that. No pilot, no steering oar, like other boats, for their ships ran on their own. They could read the men's hearts and thoughts. They knew all men's cities, their rich estates. Isn't this interesting? So they were wealthy, they were prosperous. Well, you would think if you have that kind of technology and the rest of the world doesn't, yeah, you would be rich. No doubt. I mean, you could cover spaces where there was no human of the local vicinity for a long ways. Yeah. And so we know that these were hovercrafts because they're skimming across the water. I'm almost thinking, the jet propulsion of the boats that actually push down and they have the front like a ski and then it goes out to like a triangle. Hmm. The Phaeacians refer to their ships. Note that these ships do not use manpower at all and drive themselves. Note even that you can input a specific destination and it travels by itself. GPS technology? It says it is the most remote of places. They went there and without any effort made the journey home in the same day. That's fast. That's hauling ass. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, and this is when the ship mentioned above is Phaeacian. Bold emphasis on how the Phaeacian ships function. They require no manpower. Then what did they burn for fuel? Hydrogen? The hydraulic engine, commonly known as hydrogen fuel cell, see Stanley Meyer for its modern iteration. Basically, you input water, H2O, and through efficient hydrolysis, you receive oxygen emitted. and hydrogen, which you can feed into the engine, which consumes hydrogen. The hydrolysis cost is lesser than the gain from burning hydrogen. The ground vehicle, i.e., car, using a hydrolysis engine isn't as efficient as a ship for the following reasons. A water tank is required to fuel the motor. This tank adds weight to the ground vehicle. A ship requires no water tank. Infinite water is below it. Higher surface friction than a ship. Water is flat, no uphill driving. That's when you begin to get into the flat earth thing. You're going, now, wait a minute. So my position would always put me on a flat surface, but in fact, I am going in. I'm sure, okay. Uh, It's like, got no problem. Water is flat, so no uphill driving. Okay. As for efficiency, Stanley Meyer used AC at a very high voltage and a specific frequency to loosen the water's bonds despite having low ampage. No additives required, only water, even tap water, and energy to boot the engine of, i.e., smaller batteries. If a man alone figured all this out, you think the ancients didn't have a polished version of this? Hmm, weird, isn't it? To give you some food for thought, salt makes water more conductive, and the sea is full of it. That is the secret of the Phoenicians, a mysterious civilization which was hugely influential, yet you cannot even find a single book in the Phoenician language, not even a trading record. There remains around 70 Phoenician inscriptions in the entire world. The Phoenician language was reconstructed from the bilingual inscription of the Cypri of Melkart and the Pragri tablets, which is just 4 lines each, definitively satisfying for an accurate recreation of the language. Sure. So we really don't even know their grammar or vocabulary. It's claimed we do, but that's probably debatable. It's easy to fill the gap with extrapolation after all, especially using adjacent languages, Escatarian, but it is inaccurate. Ultimately, all the Phoenicians' accomplishments were redirected by historians to other civilization and cultures. This kind of ship explains the Phoenicians' naval dominance and culture, their worldwide influence, Phoenician artifacts from Greenland to Egypt, even to Brazil, and by extension, why they are borderline erased from mainstream history and exist only as a footnote. To close this out, it says, we have no special gift in boxing, fights, or wrestling, but we run fast. We're the fastest sailors. But in ancient times, there existed advanced ships. Surely there must be more advanced technology mentioned elsewhere. Indeed, the vast palace of the Phoenician king was guarded by intelligent automatons. Okay. The reference points again, this is the Odyssey. Um, On both sides of the door stood gold and silver dogs, immortal creatures who would never age, created by and I think that would be the Hephaestus, matchless artistry, to guard the palace of the great-hearted Alcinous. Hmm. Sounds like R2D2 to me. I don't know. Or I can picture this as kind of like the Goa'uld, you know, Stargate, SG-1. Hmm. Note the gold, silver, bronze are the most conductive materials in the world in that order. They are ideal for robots. Hmm. If you got another one, light them up because, but you know, the story goes that he who is the victor writes the narrative of the battle. The loser never gets their word in. You know, because you're like, now wait, he might have kicked our ass, but that ain't the way it happened. And we're coming back. Yeah. So said Kansas City. So the Iliad. Um, let's read this. This is the palace. She found him working with his bellows, moving round, sweating in his eager haste. He was forging 20 tripods in all to stand along the walls of his well-built house. Under the legs of each one he fitted golden wheels, so every tripod might move an all its own into the gathering of the gods at his command, and then return to his own house. They were wonderful to look at. I'm telling you, guy got cheated, you know, the education is like, wait a minute. We didn't think about things like that, right? A wheeled tripod moving on its own by command. Okay. We continue. Then he pulled on a tunic and came limping out, gripping a sturdy staff. At once he was helped along by female servants made of gold, who moved to him. They looked like living servant girls, possessing minds, hearts with intelligent vocal cords and strength. They learned to work from the immortal gods. These women served to give their master detailed help. Well, ain't that special? God, got iRobot, you know. Robotic, intelligent servants. Gold is the most conductive of metals, so the most practical material to construct such an advanced machine is gold. Coincidence? Come on, folks. That's some weird stuff. I mean, and I'd like to know how many of you have read the Iliad and that you were very much aware of this passage. I'm not. But yeah, of course, when that was required reading, right, it was all Greek. Okay. Aristotle's metaphysics. For all men begin, as we said, by wondering that things are as they do about self moving marionettes, or about the solstice, or the incommunicability of the diagonal of a square with the side. For it seems wonderful to all who have not yet seen the reason that there is a thing which cannot be measured even by the smallest unit. Hmm. Isn't that kind of like nanobots? I mean, that's small, isn't it? I mean, are we getting down to a subatomic level? I mean, what? Automatons are such a common trope in ancient Greek works. Back in the age of Atlantis, You think their technology was wooden shipped here? Despite having the trimorphed islands, three rings, and a vast sea empire, they bound it all together with wooden ships? No distant orders by radio signals? Here's a question. What happens when a cataclysm sinks a continent and pretty much everyone dies worldwide? See Plato's Timaeus, literally the first 12 pages, explaining that the only remnant for Greeks was their language and some infrastructure. Cataclysm, a history wipe. Or perhaps you think if 95% of the population was deleted tomorrow, would we be able to construct cars, CPUs, refrigerators, computers? No. And here's the thing, it doesn't need to be 95%. The Deagle report, and here we are, second month of 2025. I haven't seen any evidence of any mass die-off yet, but it showed that if you were to deplete like 50% of a population, the infrastructure, social structure would collapse. And I wonder when I read this, and then to say, well, all right, so this we're talking about this black cube that has this, it's beyond time, it seems. So if we see that if you lose half of your population, that there is not enough resources, mind power, bodies to keep the current infrastructure running. It collapses. And I often think that, we've probably faced this many times. Again, you don't need this mass die-off. I mean, 50% is dramatic, I get it, but yeah. It says, no, the chaos would invite war. Status quo disruption invites further chaos, which would result in more of the survivors dying. Even the roads become unusable. And your technology resets to a primitive societies. Cataclysms happen periodically, as explained in Plato's Timaeus. Technology is erased and later reinvented. Nothing new under the sun. And that's how Greeks knew of this automatons. Weakened cargo cults artifacts preserved in lore. Do you think it's hard to invent electricity? Just wrap a bronze coil and grant it motion. Or you think making a GPS is impossible? It's just stitched images to glorify 2D array with the addition of 4 IDs to each image, for which image is adjacent to it. As for routes, it's just a tree of points, X, Y, so advanced. No way could they think about such an advanced technology. Are we really smarter than them? I don't think so. I'm going to go on for a little bit. I mean, we should get a panel put together and discuss this. This is deep stuff. And the deeper you search into ancient Greece, the more automatons referenced. Most moving statues are credited to Daedalus, and Daedalus first appearing in literature in the Iliad in 590 BC, where Daedalus built a mechanical dancing floor for Adrian. And did I mention the Argonautics, Jason and the Golden Fleece, Talos, The bronze giant, protector of Crete, who patrolled the island? Mm, mm, mm. Mind you, all above ancient Greek references are from literature. If you look into the real world, archaeology, you will find solid, touchable proof of structures which simply couldn't have been built by hand. Proof of the technology of antiquity, with a popular example being, and I may just put this off until we get here tomorrow, but there it is. There's things that, well, we'll get into this tomorrow. I hope you're finding this as fascinating. In fact, I think that we'll be pretty much wrapping this up tomorrow. So, and then we'll continue on with the next one of understanding how this society, and I think it still exists today. I mean, if all the secret societies and clubs and organizations, um, there may be one that's so ancient and so preserved that the odds of you and I ever getting in practically nil, you know. Not sure I really want in, but I do want in on their knowledge. And that's what they covet. And so prying out the little bits, um, it's difficult, can be laborious, but boy, is it helping to fill in a few of the missing pieces. I don't know. How is everyone in the chat room? Good to see you, back ass words. Uh, weird world. I love that. This print is smaller, so I go, okay, let me get my eyes adjusted on that. So anyway, hey Susie Q, what's up? So, well, thank you, Deborah Sloan. Was a fascinating class because I don't know if robots existed 3,000 years ago, then that means they probably existed potentially 10,000 years ago. But I can't help begin to say, now, wait a minute. So if the possibility, literature, right? That's what Iliad is, Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, the journeys. But so is the Bible. The Bible is not history, it's literature. Um, and so if people believe in one that I I know we all know how they do it, typology. Well, so why wouldn't I read the classics? Now I'm going to have to go back and look at this in a whole different light, going, son of a bitch, look what he was talking about. Look at this. Hon, come look at this. They had freaking robots, 3,000 years ago. And this is not Hollywood or some science fiction. I mean, what? Yeah. Mr. Mission Control, Xylons. Yeah. Grace says she loves Greek mythology. Yeah. My ex was Greek, so I would, oh, how cool. Yeah, would read all the stories to my children. That is true, Grace. How freaking cool is that? Um, yeah. Folks, this is a fascinating study, and I got this sneaky suspicion that we're going to end up somehow or another on the doorstep of this Saturn, this black cube, this centralized power it has over reality. I mean, that's and then you get into the question, okay, so what the hell does it have on the outside? Does it extend? How far does this extend? Just a small point before we close. So if there's this recycling thing, right? And this whole thing with reincarnation and, coming against the thought that there was initially this one, can't have that. So it would mean that we would have to have our memories wiped. So we don't know where we are and who we are because we get wiped. In the thousands of videos in my archive, we did a program on that. And so then this gets back to the black cube then. So you have, I believe, I don't know if it's a bloodline. I almost think it would lean to that of they're in league. They're emissaries of this Saturnarian entity that has the cube. The cube is everything. And that somehow or another, there's a finite amount of us. No matter how many people are born, no matter how many people die, there is just a certain number of us. No more, no less. Because the thing about it is, we never die. Well, or you can say we never actually are alive, but we wouldn't know. We would be completely wiped. We'd have no reference. And so, what if this is an artificial intelligence of a nature and kind that it eclipses us? It comes in, and let's say that this is equated to a god. And so it comes in at key points and wipes us completely on the planet. And so AI is, in fact, the invented God. It's everywhere. I don't know. Richard says the more research, the more we discover the efforts taken, keeping our eyes blinded and ears deafened to what we will and can only be revealed when each of us shift perception into the I know department. Yeah. Jen says we watch a cube. That's true. Yeah. Deep stuff, deep stuff. And I can't think of a better group of like minds to share this with because it's one that, you know, they should begin to make coffee shops that like of back in the 60s, where, people would gather to discuss philosophy, um, metaphysics. And because this would be one of those discussions that could really get deep. And who knows? Maybe someone that is in the inside would be listening to this because they monitor for that. And maybe, drop a little bit of inside info, to add to the convo. Hmm. Yeah, So, yeah. Which Master General, Wayne, you have the black pillar on the right and the white pillar on the left and all the seeing eye above. No shit. uh, Guggenheim. Got that back when I visited, was in New York in 1999. Yeah, and it's always one because it's that surrealistic art exhibit they had. And if you ever been to the Guggenheim Museum, it's just a far freaking out experience. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, and I get a lot of comments, but I do that on purpose. It's to give impressionary, feel. Yeah. It's like, sure, yeah. Got the all-seeing eye. It's got a nose. Yeah. It knows you. Yeah. Anyway, much love on that. Claudette, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for hitting the like button. And leave me your comments. It's cool, isn't it? See, it's like, okay, yeah. So I'd like to get the vote too on Asmodeus. Do we open the door? I got some interesting uh, journals and papers on Asmodeus. It seems like and and what I don't mean in any disrespect, but let's say he is. I don't know if he's the king or a king of the daemons, but he certainly, when you start looking into this, And I'm assuming he's a dude. I don't know that. But let's just take the pronoun on that. Um, he seems to be everywhere. It's really weird and definitely tied to money. I mean, if you have wealth, if you've built up wealth, you step back and you begin to think, well, who actually controls money? I mean, it's a high position in the ethereal realm. And kid yourself not. Money, no matter in what script or form, is powerful. When a transaction takes place, is when that energy is released. And when you do a transaction, you're not really understanding that you're releasing a force. Yeah. So, anyway, all right, folks, we will see you tomorrow as I look out yonder. And hey, thank you for being a part of this fantastic journey. I mean, far out is the only thing I can say. And it is. So much love to everyone. Smile today. Remember to laugh. And yeah, happy trails